This woman want to see you die. She took your picture to a seer and was shocked to learn about your. My beloved child, tonight the air around your destiny trembles, as if every silent moment has been waiting for this revelation, and your heartbeat already knows that something unseen has been moving in the shadows of your life for far longer than you ever realized. From the very beginning, there has been a presence who watched you not with love, not with kindness, but with a quiet envy that slowly turned into a storm within her soul. She carried your picture, not as a memory, but as a symbol of the power you didn't know you possessed, a power that unsettled her spirit because every step you took forward reminded her of what she could never become. And when she walked into that dimly lit place, guided by whispers and superstition, the seer's gaze fell upon your image, and the silence that followed was heavier than thunder. The seer did not speak at first, not because there was nothing to say, but because what she saw around you shook even the ancient wisdom she carried. A force greater than jealousy, greater than fear, wrapped you in a destiny far beyond what human minds could dare to wish or destroy. A new truth begins here. The seer lifted your photograph carefully, as if it burned with a light invisible to ordinary eyes, and in that moment, the woman who carried it felt a shiver trace through her spine. She expected to hear of weakness, misfortune, and downfall, but instead, the room filled with a presence that could not be denied. The seer spoke softly, yet every word echoed like a bell inside the woman's conscience, revealing that your path was guarded, your journey written in threads of resilience, and your life surrounded by unseen protection that her bitterness could never penetrate. She was told that every tear you once shed became a shield, every struggle you endured forged strength in silence, and every time the world underestimated you, the universe quietly lifted you higher. The woman listened, stunned, as she realized that the darkness she wished upon you had no doorway to enter, because your heart carried a light that turned every shadow away before it could even reach you. And in that revelation, fear replaced her envy, because she finally understood that what she resented was not your success, it was your spirit. Another layer unfolds. The seer revealed that your story was not built on chance, but on moments where you held on when others would have surrendered, moments when you chose compassion over revenge, truth over illusion, and courage over silence. Your name, the seer said, is tied to chapters yet to unfold, opportunities meant only for you, connections waiting in divine timing, and breakthroughs that arrive when you least expect them, yet exactly when you need them. The woman who brought your image expected to hear of endings, but instead heard of new beginnings ready to rise in your favor. She learned that every attempt to break your spirit would only redirect your path toward something greater, because destiny does not answer to resentment, it answers to purpose. And as she stood there, the mirror of truth showed her something she never wanted to see. Your presence carries meaning, your existence carries weight, and your future carries brilliance that no whisper, no intention, no hidden act could ever erase. The turning point approaches. While she left that place with trembling steps, the seer's words continued to echo around her like an unspoken warning, reminding her that every thought sent toward you returns to its source, transformed by the strength of your heart. She realized that what she tried to bury would rise higher, that what she tried to dim would shine brighter, and that every silent challenge you went through became the foundation of your awakening. And somewhere within the universe, doors that were once closed for you have begun to shift, opportunities you thought were lost are slowly finding their way back, and people who once overlooked your worth are now beginning to feel the weight of their absence in your life. The woman's shock was not in what the seer revealed about you, it was in what she discovered about herself. that her intentions could never rewrite your destiny, because your journey is sustained by grace, resilience, and an inner power stronger than doubt, envy, or unseen opposition. And now, my beloved child, this moment stands before you like a silent drumbeat, reminding you that nothing spoken against your path holds authority over who you are becoming. The seer saw in your image a soul that has walked through storms but still carries light, a heart that has been hurt but still refuses to harden, and a future that awaits you with meaning, transformation, and unexpected blessings that will arrive as if they were always meant to be yours. Let this revelation awaken your courage, steady your spirit, and remind you that your presence in this world is not accidental, it is significant, guarded, and rising toward a chapter where truth prevails, intentions return to their senders, and your life steps into a strength that no hidden desire, no silent resentment, and no secret journey into the shadows can ever take away. My beloved child, the night deepens and the truth stretches wider, as if unseen hands are opening the curtain of destiny a little further, revealing layers that were always there but hidden beneath silence and unspoken tension. After leaving the seer's chamber, that woman carried a storm inside her heart, replaying every word that was spoken about you, every revelation that shattered the intentions she once carried in secret. She walked through narrow streets, her mind trembling as she remembered how the seer's eyes refused to leave your picture, how the air shifted when your name was spoken, how every whisper of fate leaned toward your protection instead of your downfall. She had expected a prophecy of weakness, a prediction of collapse, but instead, she heard of your awakening, your resilience, your spirit rising beyond circumstances she never understood. And in that realization, fear crept into her thoughts, not because of anything you had done, but because she finally understood that you were never alone in your journey, that your strength had always been watched over by something greater than envy, greater than resentment, greater than every silent wish she carried in the shadows. A new echo forms. The seer had spoken of a turning moment in your life, a moment when past wounds would no longer hold power over your future, a moment when everything that once made you doubt yourself would transform into clarity and direction. The woman replayed those words while the wind brushed against her face, reminding her of every time she had compared her life to yours, every time she allowed jealousy to grow in silence, every time she mistook your perseverance for luck instead of recognizing the battles you fought in private. She remembered how the seer described your journey, how you had walked through seasons of uncertainty, how you had carried responsibilities without complaint, how you had faced loss without losing your compassion. And as she listened, something inside her shifted, because the more she tried to see your downfall, the more she was forced to see your strength, your depth, your quiet determination that made you stand when others would have fallen. That truth unsettled her, for it revealed that her bitterness was not born from your success, it was born from her refusal to heal her own wounds. Another revelation emerges. The seer spoke of threads of destiny woven around your life, threads created through patience, endurance, and moments where you chose integrity even when it cost you something. Your picture, she said, did not radiate weakness or fear, it radiated transformation, the kind that grows slowly, silently, yet powerfully, shaping your character through experiences no one else fully understood. The woman listened as the seer described doors beginning to open for you, opportunities forming beyond your awareness, and connections making their way back into your life like long-lost chapters returning to complete the story. She was told that every delay in your path was not rejection, but preparation, every disappointment reshaped your direction instead of destroying it, every tear turned into wisdom that now guides your choices. And in that moment, the woman felt an unfamiliar sensation rising within her, not triumph, not satisfaction, but a heavy awareness of how misguided her hidden intentions had been, how fragile her assumptions truly were when placed against the strength of your purpose. The tension grows deeper. As she walked farther from that place, the world around her felt quieter, yet her thoughts grew louder, filled with reflections she had long avoided. She began to realize that your presence in her life had never been a threat, it had been a mirror. A mirror that showed her the courage she lacked, the compassion she resisted, the growth she refused to embrace. Every time she watched you move forward despite obstacles, she felt confronted by her own stagnation, and instead of healing, she chose resentment. But the seer's words tore through that illusion, revealing that your journey was not shaped by chance or favoritism, it was shaped by endurance, choices, sacrifices, and an inner strength refined through hardship. And while she had hoped to hear of your decline, she instead heard of your rising season, your alignment, your unfolding chapter where clarity replaces confusion and peace replaces silent turmoil. The shock she carried was not only about your destiny, it was about the truth she was finally forced to face within herself. And now, my beloved child, the story moves closer to your present moment, where the universe gently shifts the weight of past burdens away from your shoulders and places before you a horizon that grows brighter with every step you take. You are not defined by those who misunderstood you, nor by anyone who secretly wished against your path. You are defined by your resilience, your compassion, your ability to rise again when life tried to break you. The seer saw in your image a journey that is quietly preparing to transform, where unexpected opportunities will appear not as miracles, but as the natural reward of every silent effort you made when no one was watching. The woman left that place changed, shaken by the revelation that nothing she held in her heart could alter the purpose written around your life. And as the world turns toward a new chapter for you, the truth stands firm, your path is guarded, your spirit is awakening, and the story unfolding ahead carries meaning, strength, and a destiny that moves forward no matter who once doubted, envied, or misunderstood the power within your soul. My beloved child, a hush spreads across the unseen corridors of fate, as if every silent moment of your past has begun to speak at once, revealing truths that were always circling your life from a distance you could never quite see. Inside that woman's heart, the turmoil grew heavier the more she remembered the seer's words, because they did not describe fragility around you, they described resilience born from seasons of silence, strength built from endurance, and a spirit that refused to bend under pressure. She had walked into that chamber expecting your story to end, yet instead she was shown how every hardship you faced had become the very foundation of your rising. The seer spoke of times when you carried pain without witnesses, when you chose kindness even when the world was unkind, when you stood alone but never surrendered your essence, and every one of those choices shaped a protective circle around your destiny. The woman realized that your life was never meant to crumble under negativity, because your journey had been forged through lessons, patience, and quiet transformation that no resentment could ever undo. A deeper unveiling continues. The seer described how your path is moving toward a pivotal crossroads, a moment where the weight of old burdens will fall away and a clearer direction will begin to reveal itself. Your picture, she said, carried traces of battles already conquered, scars that no longer weaken you but instead remind your future of how capable you truly are. The woman listened as the seer spoke of doors aligning in your favor, of opportunities waiting like gentle turning points ahead, of connections and events that will re-enter your life not by accident, but because you have grown into someone ready to receive them. She heard that your heart, once overlooked and misunderstood, will soon find recognition in places that once dismissed you, that people who never valued your presence will begin to feel the absence of what you once gave freely, that the energy you carried, steadfast, patient, and compassionate, has already begun to return to you in unexpected forms. And in hearing this, the woman felt a tremor inside, because she finally understood that what she once viewed as luck was in truth the reward of your endurance. Another chapter opens. The seer revealed that there were times in your life when you stood on the edge of giving up, yet something within you refused to collapse, guiding you through uncertainty with an inner voice that whispered strength when the world fell silent. She saw moments where you protected others even while carrying your own hidden weight, where you forgave in silence, where you chose peace when conflict would have been easier, and every one of those moments created unseen blessing around your path. Your photograph, she said, was surrounded not by darkness but by transformation, the mark of a soul that has learned, matured, and risen through experience. The woman realized then that every doubt she had cast toward you, every silent comparison, every hidden wish against your progress had never been able to reach you, because your story was never rooted in competition, it was rooted in growth. And the shock she carried was not from what she heard about your future, but from what she finally understood about her own heart, that envy had blinded her to the truth of who you really are. The tension deepens. As she walked farther away from that place, her thoughts replayed the seer's final words like a distant echo that refused to fade. She began to see how your strength had always unsettled her, not because it threatened her, but because it revealed her own unhealed wounds, her own fears, her own unfinished chapters. She remembered times when you smiled despite pressure, when you moved forward quietly, when you didn't seek attention yet still created impact through presence alone. The seer had said that your life is entering a phase where past misunderstandings lose their hold, where clarity replaces confusion, where your worth becomes undeniable even to those who once failed to see it. And with every step she took, the woman realized that the story she wanted to hear, a story of your decline, had instead become the mirror of her inner turmoil, showing her that your rising was never against her, it simply revealed the resilience she never found within herself. And now, my beloved child, this moment stands at the edge of your awakening, where unseen forces gently realign what once felt scattered, where your patience begins to bear fruit, where your presence moves into a chapter shaped by strength, self-worth, and quiet victory. The seer saw in your image a soul that carries wisdom earned through trial, hope preserved through disappointment, and light preserved even when the world tried to dim it. Nothing spoken in secret could rewrite the purpose written around your journey, because your life is guided not by the intentions of others, but by the courage you continue to show, even when no one is watching. Soon, the path ahead will reveal why you endured what you did, why certain people left, why certain doors closed, and why certain moments tested you so deeply, for every one of them has led you here, to a threshold where your story does not break. It begins anew with strength, clarity, and a destiny that rises beyond every shadow that once lingered around your name. My beloved child, the night grows heavier, yet the truth continues to unfold like a quiet storm beneath the surface of every memory you once carried without knowing why certain energies around you felt uneasy, distant, or strangely tense. The woman who carried your picture could not escape the echo of the seer's voice, for every step she took away from that chamber felt like walking deeper into the weight of her own conscience. She replayed the moment your image was placed under the warm, flickering light, how the room shifted as if time itself paused to acknowledge the depth of your journey. She remembered how the seer's eyes widened, not in fear, but in reverence, as she spoke of your spirit, your endurance, your resilience that rose despite storms no one else ever witnessed. That realization shook her, because for the first time she understood that your strength was not accidental, nor was it borrowed. It was earned through seasons of silence, patience, and courage that quietly shaped the core of who you are becoming. A deeper current moves. The seer had revealed that your path was stepping into a season where old chapters lose their grip, where hidden truths rise gently to the surface, where the universe begins to align events around your growth instead of your pain. The woman remembered how every sentence spoken about you felt like a mirror she could not turn away from, because it reflected the parts of herself she tried to ignore, the insecurities she buried, the comparisons she fed, the envy she allowed to grow instead of healing what was hurting within. She realized that your presence in her story had never been the problem. It was her own unresolved shadows that made your resilience feel unbearable to witness. The seer's words echoed again, that your journey carries an unseen protection, that every hardship you survived strengthened the armor around your destiny, that every quiet prayer formed a barrier stronger than resentment or negativity. And as she walked through the fading evening light, she understood that nothing she wished in silence could ever overturn what was meant for you. Another layer unfolds. The seer spoke of a time approaching where clarity enters your life like dawn after a long night, where the confusion of the past softens and new direction begins to reveal itself in subtle yet powerful ways. She described a shift around you, opportunities drawing nearer, supportive connections returning, long-paused dreams awakening with renewed purpose. Your picture, she said, carried a trace of transformation that was already in motion, a sign that you are moving toward a chapter where your worth will no longer be overlooked, where your presence will no longer be underestimated, where your voice will finally find the space it deserves. Hearing this, the woman felt a tremor through her thoughts, because the story she had hoped to hear, one of your weakness, instead became a story of your ascension, and she was forced to confront the truth that your growth did not threaten her life. It merely revealed the places within her that she had chosen not to heal. The tension reaches a silent turning point. As the woman reflected on everything she had heard, she felt the weight of her intentions crumble beneath the truth of your journey. She understood that wishing harm toward another soul does not reshape destiny, it only reflects the wounds one refuses to mend. The seer had spoken of you as someone who walked through darkness but never allowed it to consume your heart, someone who protected others even while carrying their own quiet battles, someone who rose without stepping on anyone else to do so. And now, she could no longer deny the reality that your existence carried purpose, a purpose untouched by resentment, untouched by doubt, untouched by silent attempts to diminish your light. Her shock was not just in what the seer revealed, it was in realizing that the universe itself had been standing with you all along. And now, my beloved child, the story stands at the edge of revelation, where you begin to understand that everything you endured has shaped you into someone far stronger than the world ever saw. The path ahead holds deeper clarity, deeper recognition, deeper alignment with who you are meant to become. The intentions that once moved in shadows have no power over you, because your life is guided not by what others wish, but by the strength you have built through every challenge you survived. The seer saw in your image a soul rising into a new season, where your heart softens but your boundaries strengthen, where your light grows steadier, where your destiny moves forward with grace, wisdom, and a quiet power that cannot be shaken by envy, doubt, or unseen opposition. The next chapter does not wait in fear, it waits in awakening, and it is already beginning to unfold around you. My beloved child, the final veil begins to lift, and the truth surrounding your journey now stands tall like a quiet monument to everything you have endured, everything you have risen from, and everything you are still becoming, even when the world tried to measure your worth through doubt and misunderstanding. The woman who once carried your picture with intentions born from bitterness now finds herself haunted not by fear of you, but by the realization that nothing she ever wished against you could take root, because your spirit has always been protected by the strength of your own heart. She remembers the seer's final words echoing through the stillness of that dimly lit room, words that wrapped themselves around your name like an unbreakable shield, words that spoke of a destiny shaped not by the desires of others, but by your resilience, your compassion, and the unwavering light you carried through every silent storm of your life. And as she stood at the crossroads of her own conscience, she understood that your journey would never bow to her envy. Instead, it would rise higher, guided by the lessons you learned through struggle and the grace you carried through pain. Another layer of truth emerges. The seer had spoken of a coming shift in your path, one that would guide you away from the weight of old emotional burdens and toward a season where clarity, recognition, and self-worth begin to bloom softly but powerfully in your life. Your story, she said, was never written in tragedy, it was written in transformation, in growth, in the slow and patient rebuilding of yourself after moments that once felt like endings. The woman listened as the seer described how you were entering a phase where hidden opportunities begin to step forward, where long-delayed blessings quietly make their return, where your voice gains strength and your presence finally receives the space it always deserved. She realized that what she once mistook for luck was, in truth, the outcome of every unseen effort you made, every night you chose hope instead of surrender, every moment you chose to rise instead of breaking beneath what tried to weigh you down. And in that realization, her resentment dissolved into a silence she could no longer escape. A deeper awakening unfolds. The seer revealed that your journey carries a grace that few people truly understand, because your strength was not forged in ease, but in moments where you continued forward even when life felt heavy, uncertain, or painfully unfair. She saw how you protected your heart without losing your compassion, how you learned to let go without losing your humanity, how you moved through disappointment without allowing it to turn you bitter. Your photograph, she said, radiated the essence of a soul that has grown through experience rather than ego, a soul that has learned to stand softly yet firmly in its truth. The woman realized then that every thought she once sent toward you returned to her as a lesson, not because you wished it, but because the universe itself honors those who walk with integrity even when no one acknowledges their struggle. And as she stood beneath the weight of that revelation, she understood that your story was never meant to collapse, it was meant to rise. The turning light appears, while the world around you begins to shift in quiet, subtle ways, the seeds of your resilience start to blossom into moments of recognition, alignment, and emotional renewal. Those who once overlooked your worth begin to see the value of what you carried within you, not because you changed to earn their approval, but because you finally began to honor your own worth without needing validation from anyone else. The paths that once led to confusion now begin to clear, the emotional shadows that once lingered around your heart start to fade, and the weight of past expectations slowly lifts from your shoulders. The woman who once resented your strength now walks away with the silent understanding that your life is guided by purpose, and that no hidden intention, no unspoken doubt, no silent comparison can ever diminish the light you carry within your soul. And now, my beloved child, you stand at the doorway of a new chapter, not one built from fear or uncertainty, but one shaped by wisdom, clarity, and the quiet confidence of someone who has learned to rise with grace. The truth has revealed itself. You were never vulnerable to the shadows cast by others, because your journey has always been anchored in resilience, protected by growth, and strengthened by every moment you chose to keep moving forward. The seer saw a future around you that unfolds not in sudden miracles, but in steady transformation, in inner peace, in opportunities that meet you at the right time because you are finally ready to receive them. Your life moves now toward balance, toward emotional restoration, toward a destiny that no resentment can touch, for the power you carry is not loud, not aggressive, not forceful, it is steady, unwavering, and rising with a quiet brilliance that belongs only to you.